The movie that I would like to introduce today is The Surrogates, which was released in last year 2009 September. The main idea of this film is people hiding their real identity and face inside the masks, which is also called as surrogates. Why people want to hide their identity and face inside the surrogate is because in order to hide their face, which they think it's ugly, and they wanted to hide their faces which become old, so that's the reason why they want to hide their real themselves. Surrogates are robots and they're created just like oneself, which has a more younger, prettier, and more handsome faces. So, for instance, if me, Heejung, myself had a surrogate, I might have a robot that looks just like me, but it looks slightly much more younger and prettier. So I would wear this surrogate to hide myself, my real face, and the real me. So the first thing I want to discuss was about the thoughts and the life experience in the people in the movie as the surrogates, and life experience and thoughts in the real world. Well, so in other words, I would like to compare the differences when people are inside their surrogates and when they're not. So when they live their lives without the surrogates. So first of all, I would like to mention people living in the surrogates world, which I would also call as the machine world. If people live in the machine world, first of all, they would experience totally different thing compared to the real world. First of all, time would not be existing in the machine world. What I mean by that is people would never get old, and also because they are wearing their surrogates that has a younger face, so unless they have that, they will never get old. So physically they won't get old, especially their appearance. And people would just have same faces with young faces, which is more beautiful, more handsome. Not only their faces but also their body good shape, slim, and they would even look muscular. So they would just live their lives with this, and they would never notice that time is actually ticking because they have the same face forever, unless they don't have their surrogates. They would just look like the movie stars and models, everyone. Same youth face. The second thing is, in the machine world, is that, as I mentioned, they'll never get old. Then eventually they would have a much more stronger strength compared to the real world. And what I meant by a stronger physical health is that they could do physical activity that cannot be happened in the real world. For instance, a human may run like a cheetah, or they can even jump off the building without getting injured or getting killed. So actually in one of the scene, Bruce was hit by a car, but he would just stand up as if nothing had happened. He wasn't injured, or he wasn't even killed when he was hit by a car. So these are the things that cannot actually impossible to happen in the real world. I mean, if they were in the real world without the surrogates, they would feel that time is going, and they would feel that years after years their faces get old, and also they might have a physical strength but not that much strong as they have in the machine world. So in the machine world, people have this confidence in their face, but they would not want to be in the real world, which means they would not want to take off their surrogates because they're afraid. They have the fear of looking at their own faces. Although that's their real face, they would have the fear, and they would also be self-conscious as well because they were so used to having their surrogates with them, living their lives. And the last thing I want to mention is when people live with their surrogates in the machine world, they think pretty faces and handsome faces, slim body, muscular body, these outer beauty is the reason why they live. So they might think this is the reason why they live, because since they have the confidence, they do what they couldn't have done in the real world. They might also have narcissism as well. Narcissism. And those are the things that they have in the machine world. And in the real world, as I mentioned, they're not confident, so they can't do things like they're doing in the machine world. For instance, like even you're 60 years old, you can't play with a young man. You're not likely to play with them. But in the machine world, since everyone looks young, this can actually happen. So that was basically what I wanted to mention, the different thoughts and activities in the machine world and the real world. And another thing that I want to mention is that the relationship between Bruce Willis, which is the main character, and his wife. So before I mention the relationship, Bruce's wife, she's working as a beauty artist for the surrogates, and she's quite satisfied with her life as having her surrogates with her. So normally for Bruce, if he comes back home, he would take off his surrogate and go back to the real world with his real appearance as a grandpa, maybe an old man. But his wife would never ever take that surrogate off, because one reason maybe because she is kind of addicted to the machine world. She's kind of confused with the real world and the machine world. So when Bruce takes his surrogates off with an old man looking face, then his wife would be she won't understand why he's taking that off, and she does not seem to treat her husband nicely because he doesn't have an attractive face without his surrogates on. So she kind of focuses on outer beauty, and she thinks that's the most important thing. So even though it's her husband, I mean, she must have married him by he himself, but just because he takes off his surrogates, she doesn't like it. So Bruce started to get disappointed by how she treats her husband, and that's why from this start they get troubles with each other. So these are the kind of things how people in this movie, they get confused with the machine and the real world. Even though the machine world is the fantasy, people think that this is their real world, and on the other hand, they might think the real world is the imaginary world, which they would never want to think of.